And welcome to Kitty Talks, the podcast that shows you how to build a life in alignment with your soul. I'm your host, Kitty Waters, serial entrepreneur and co-creator of the Network for Transformational Leaders. Each week, I interview top thought leaders that are changing the world. They share their life stories on tips on how you can find your purpose. We all have a gift we can bring to the world. Do you feel dead to life? Like there's more to it, but you don't know where to start? Perhaps you don't fit in and you can't understand why. Are you pushing all the time and getting nowhere? Do you long to finally be sure which is the right path for you? This podcast is sponsored by my Do Your Dharma course. This 8-week online course, self-study, shows you how to find your purpose. The course demystifies the subject of Dharma and shows you that by following your highest excitement, you can unlock your greatest potential and create the life of your dreams. Go to www.kittytalks.com/do-your-dharma. Without further ado, let's dive into the next episode. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Kitty Talks. This week we are talking about why you should listen to this podcast. If you're new to this podcast or if you've even been listening for a while, I'm going to explain the method in the madness. Why it's so important that you listen to each of the thought leader interviews that I do on a weekly basis. I started my podcasting journey about a year and a half ago now. And at the time, all I knew was I wanted to do something that really excited me. All my life, I'd been doing what I thought I should be doing. I'd run and set up businesses because I thought I needed to be taken seriously. And the only way I could be taken seriously was if I set up a business, which was not actually my passion. And after a series of failed jobs, broken business partnerships, I sat with myself and I made a decision that I was only going to do what I wanted to do from then on. What did that mean? That meant following my highest excitement and do the things that I was passionate about. And at that moment in time, I really didn't know where Kitty Talks was going to take me. I just knew the message I was getting, call it my higher self, call it my soul, call it my intuition, was that I needed to interview amazing thought leaders about how they have transitioned into the work that they're doing. How do you go from being a business analyst to a numerologist? How do you go from being a nursery nurse to an Akashic Records teacher? How do you transition into being a shaman? Just interviewed Shaman Durek last week on the podcast. How do people make these amazing transitions? We had Sahara Rose on the podcast a few weeks back. You know, she tells an amazing story about how she transitioned into being the thought leader that she is today. And my vision for the podcast was to inspire a generation of change makers to follow their passion and purpose and make a difference on the planet. If we are all in alignment with ourselves, if we're doing the things that we love, that we're passionate about, we are in a much higher level vibration. We are pure love, or we are doing the things that we love. We are love. And according to Dharmic philosophy, when we do this, we bring the world back into balance. But I didn't know any of that then. I just knew at the start of my Kitty Talks journey that I wanted to interview amazing thought leaders to inspire other people. That was it. That was all I knew. And I tell you this story because if you're out there and you're listening to this podcast and you've got an amazing idea, maybe you want to set up a podcast, maybe you want to become a coach, maybe you want to help humanity in some shape or form, and you've kind of got an idea, but you don't necessarily have all the pieces of the puzzle. Well, my advice to you is just start. Because what happens is when we start our journey, the next piece of the puzzle becomes obvious and evident. So I started interviewing people I started listening to their amazing stories, and I just was so inspired interviewing these amazing people doing amazing things on the planet. And then after about 2 months of doing that, it became obvious what I needed to do next. And what I needed to do next was create a Find and Follow Your Purpose course. Now, of course, we all have that horrible little voice inside of us telling us that we're not enough. All of us have it. Not every single person in the world has it. And of course, that horrible voice inside of me said, who are you to write a Find and Follow Your Purpose course? Who are you to do that? But once I got over that, and I've learned not to listen to that little voice, I've learned to acknowledge it and say, thanks very much, but that's not who I am anymore. I put pen to paper, and surprisingly, what started to come out of me was ideas about an amazing course. And then what was even more fascinating, it was almost like every single person I interviewed gave me a little bit more information that I could transfer to people listening to help them uncover their purpose. I interviewed the most amazing guy, Daryl Anker, and if you haven't listened to that interview, I really recommend you to go and listen. He is the channel for an entity called Bashar, and he talks about how when we follow our highest excitement to the best of our ability with no expectation on the outcome, then we're walking the optimal path in life. So think about that for a moment. When you're following your highest excitement to the best of your ability with no expectation on the outcome, you're walking your highest optimal path in life. So how do you do that? Well, from moment to moment, you should be doing the things that you're truly passionate about. You should be doing the things that truly excite you. Unfortunately, in this world, we are taught to do the hardest things first. And actually, that totally gets us out of alignment with who we are. So as I started to write this course, this beautiful process came through me. And again, for anybody listening to this, if you are wanting to write a book, if you're wanting to write a course, my advice to you is just to start, because clarity comes through engagement, not thought. And it's very fascinating. I've now have a lot of Do Your Dharma students, and I see it time and time again. When they take the action, when they put one foot in front of the other, when they don't necessarily know where it's going to lead them, but they know they're following their highest excitement, the next piece of the puzzle becomes obvious. I just had a student who got very clear and aligned on the vision for her life. She's a nurse, or has been a wonderful nurse for the last 12 years. And she knew that she wanted to do something in alignment with her nursing skills, in alignment with who she is. But it didn't feel right for her. She needed to evolve. What was the next step for her? So she created this beautiful vision for her life, and she wanted to become a soul coach. How wonderful is that? And then she did something really, truly magical, which is what I encourage all my Do Your Dharma students is. She basically started investigating how to become a soul coach. She was looking at different courses. At the time, she wasn't sure where the money would come from to do this course. But you've heard that famous saying, where universe has our backs. And actually, when we work in alignment with who we are and go towards our dreams, we become aligned to everything that's just waiting for us. So she started to investigate courses, and she found one that she really liked, but it was really expensive, and she didn't know quite how she was going to pay for it. But she held the faith, she held the vision, she stayed in a positive mindset. And one day her husband came home from work and showed her something that her hospital was doing, which she didn't know about. Basically, her hospital was offering to do grants for further education. And so she decided to put in the grant application, and guess what? She got it. So our job is not necessarily to know the how, but it's our job to have a vision of where we're going. And this is exactly what happened or has happened with Kitty Talks. So every time I interviewed somebody, I got clearer and clearer around my Do Your Dharma course. And the interviews that I do are all about how a person has uncovered their Dharma, uncovered their purpose. So if you're listening to these interviews, each week I interview thought leaders who have transitioned into the work that they're doing. It's very important that you remember each of us are completely unique. There's 7.5 billion people on the planet, but only one you. Your Dharma is different to my Dharma. Your path is different to my path. We do not do comparison. Your job is to follow your highest excitement to the best of your ability with no expectation on the outcome. Basically, our job is to uncover what it is that we are passionate about, what it is that we have as a unique gift and talent to go towards that. And that's exactly what we do in the Do Your Dharma course. We also weed out any limiting beliefs. We're human beings. We all have the limiting belief that we are not enough. So we really go to town on our limiting beliefs, and we basically root out any of the ones that's blocking us from our success. And then we work as a community, and we basically get you to come up with your vision for your life. Now, most human beings wouldn't get in a car without knowing where the car is going. Imagine getting in a taxi and saying, well, actually, I don't know where I want to go. This is what we do with our lives. Only 13% of the planet are engaged in what they do on a daily basis, which means that most of the planet is out of alignment with not only themselves, but their dreams. Do you know where you're going in your life? Do you know what you want out of life? What's your vision for your life? Most people have no idea. So they go along blindly, daily, just letting things create on their behalf. So we get very clear on the vision for our life in Do Your Dharma. And what's amazing is when you have clarity around where you're going, and if it's in alignment with who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, you're in alignment with Dharma and synchronicity to flow. One of my other students, again, another nurse, we seem to have a lot of nurses attracted to doing Do Your Dharma, but she wanted to be a soul midwife, and she came up with this vision while doing the course, and something had always held her back before, but during the course, she really got the courage just to go for it. Similar type of experience. She didn't know where the money necessarily was going to come from. She didn't have anywhere to stay. The flights were expensive, but she committed. She got really aligned and committed. And she emailed the course tutor to say that she didn't have anywhere to stay and she was booking it quite last minute. The course tutor basically came back to her and said, I'll email the group and see if there's any space. So she emailed the group, and one of the girls came back and said, oh, I've got a double room. It's like a twin room, but I didn't know why I booked it, but I have done. So if she wants to stay with me, she's more than welcome. So the universe provided her the accommodation. She went and she did this most amazing weekend, learned to be a soul midwife. The girl she shared a room with ended up being her best buddy on the course. And as you can imagine, coming back from that, she was flying back from Canada to LA, just so happy with herself, so kind of like, oh my goodness, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And she got a tap on the shoulder at the airport. And the person said to her, excuse me, madam, we really need your seat. Would you mind if we upgrade you and put you in first class? So how about that for confirmation that you are going the right direction in life? And this is what happens when we do our Dharma, when we uncover our purpose, when we do the things that we're supposed to do, our life becomes amazing. We can create our dream lives. You know, what does your dream life look like? Where do you wake up? Is it on the beach? Is it to do yoga? What is it that your dream life looks like? It's very important that you get clear on that, because that's how you're going to manifest and you're going to create it. So anybody listening to this who's got a dream, who has an idea why they came to Earth, who doesn't really know where to start, then I encourage you to join our Facebook community. We've got a beautiful community of people doing their Dharma. It's a very supportive environment. Come join us. We can teach you the skills. Actually, it's very simple to stay in alignment with Dharma when you know how. And that's what we teach in the Do Your Dharma course. We teach you how to stay at the top of the emotional vibrational scale. We teach you how to basically create an amazing life in alignment with your soul, in alignment with your dreams. And it's easier than you might think. Now, it's taken me 41 years to work this out. If you don't know my story, I have taken myself from nervous breakdown and right at the bottom of the emotional vibrational scale, depression, anxiety. Had chronic depression for about 10 years and used drugs and alcohol to cope. I was looking for the divine in all the wrong places. I was using cocaine. I've had a very heavy cocaine habit at one stage, could not go out without having cocaine on me. It's funny, it's like a parallel universe now when I look back at it. It's totally different to what my life is like now. But if you're, again, listen to this and you know your life needs to change, but you don't know quite how to make that change, who you surround yourself with is so important. You know, get yourself an empowering community. Find a community that will support you, that will love you, that will nourish you. and get around people who support your dreams. You know, I see this in my Do Your Dharma community a lot. Sometimes my students will share their vision with their people outside of our community, and people go, what? You know, what are you talking about? That's crazy. You can never make that happen. So it's very important who you surround yourself with. The machine of existence works whichever way we want to use it, right? You can drive a car recklessly or you can drive it safely. It's the same thing with the universe. You can either use it in a positive way to manifest and create the life of your dreams, or you can use it without really knowing what you're doing and stay at the bottom, stay anxious, stay depressed, stay in blame, stay in shame. So we teach you really clear strategies about how to basically understand the spiritual laws of success. And once you understand them, you can use them to your advantage. So for anybody new to Kitty Talks, the whole point of listening to these interviews is you will see the people in these interviews describe what we talk about on the Do Your Dharma course. And what I do at the beginning of the interview is I say to you, this interview is a fantastic example, for example, of somebody who's followed their passions, somebody who basically has gone after what they truly love. Like I recently interviewed a professional kite surfer, and he just didn't want to compromise. He didn't want to do anything else apart from kite surfing. He felt so alive, so free, so connected when he was kite surfing. He knew that that's what he was supposed to be doing. You know, and that's what our lives should be like. That's how we should feel. Now, he's an extreme example because he's obviously a professional sports person, but he's made that kite surfing, which is quite unusual, into a living. He's a speaker, he's a coach, he's a kite surfer. He's doing all the things that truly light him up, and he's helping and serving other people. And this is available for you. This is available for anybody listening. Think about what it is that truly deeply excites you and go towards it. Thank you for listening. Come join our free Facebook group if you haven't already. I will be doing Do Your Dharma probably the second week of the month in next year. So you're welcome to come and join us. We have a big community of people doing it. It's just fun and like incredibly empowering to be involved in it. And if you haven't already, connect with me on Kitty Talks, Kitty_talks at Instagram, and PM me your questions. Love to hear from you. All my love. Speak to you soon.
This podcast was sponsored by my Do Your Dharma course. Create a life so good that you pinch yourself. This 8-week online course demystifies Dharma and shows you how to tune in to why you're really here. Go to www.kittytalks.com/do your Dharma.